T2 Metals is a copper, gold, silver exploration co. with 3 projects. The Sheridan within the Flin Flon mining camp of Manitoba, the Cora project near Tucson, Arizona, and the Lida project in the Walker Lane Belt in Nevada. These projects are in great mining regions and have had very good exploration results over the past couple of years. I've known Mark for several years now, so I'm looking forward to getting an update on T2 and its projects. I'm Martin Gago with Market Radius Research. It's Thursday, May the 2nd. Please remember, this is neither recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Mark, good seeing you. Thanks for joining us. And how are things going?
Good afternoon, Martin. I really appreciate the time to give you an update here, and we're doing well. I'm sitting in Australia at the moment, and sun's shining outside. We're sort of coming into winter, and no complaints at all. So life is good, and I'll be back on the road again in North America quite soon, and yeah, checking out the projects and looking at lots of good geology and ideas.
Excellent. All right. Well, why don't we go over the story for that as a refresher for those of us who know the story, and then as an intro for new people on the story, so we can get up to speed and be on the same level here, and then we can dig into different aspects.
First page there of the presentation, you can see sort of all the basic information that you need. I've used sort of a sticky note there to sort of highlight the key messaging that I've got today, and we've been having in the last couple of months is some really stellar drilling results that we got from our project in Sheridan, which is in Manitoba. And so that's so really popped its head up as a flagship project, and that's really where I'll be focusing my talk today on that project. So yeah, great results, great copper, great gold, interesting zinc. Yeah, a project that yeah, can really be on a fast track towards production, which yeah, I think is very important. Normal disclaimer, yep, all care and in my words, some forward-looking statements, of course, and yeah, please do your own additional research. So when we look at T2 Metals, it's a company that we formed from a shell and put some very exciting projects into it. I'm the CEO. I'm a geologist by training. A lot of experience in generating ideas and projects and then building teams around those. T2 is one of a group of companies that come out of an office in Vancouver, and we've had some really great success stories and great discoveries. And T2 Metals is kind of named after my previous company, which was a very strong company, big success. So highly experienced board and management. We're below 10 million market cap as a company, and at those lower market cap companies, really it's the people that make all the difference. Our team and our board and the people that we've gathered around us, a very successful group. We've had good discovery success, and we're in the process of doing it again. I've shown there in red, and really that's the eye-catching result for us from our drilling program, which we finished late 2023. We released the results coming into Q1 2024. That top result is a number that really sort of took us by surprise. The gold result of 6.5 grams per ton there over 23 meters was yeah, a really surprising result. It's a project that's been known for some gold, but not gold of that width or of that grade. So that's really exciting, and it's really opened the door on a project to us for a gold project as well as copper. As I said, we're a really strong exploration team. We've got a pipeline of projects coming through in North America. We continue to look at new ideas and new projects. So yeah, we're never just sort of sitting around waiting to see what comes through the door. We get out and we do our own active project generation, and we'll continue to do that, always building the story. And I guess most of all, at the moment, we're a copper company and we're a gold company. And really, there's no better investment themes than you can imagine globally than those two metals. Both metals are seeing, yeah, long-term highs or all-time highs, as you're seeing for gold. Really great sector to be in. The Canadian dollar, as is our Australian dollar, is reasonably weak, and so we're getting, yeah, full value for projects in those two areas. Yeah, very good time to be in mining stocks in general, but copper and gold in particular.
Yeah. Just on the you said project generator. Are you a bit of sort of a, I don't know, let's call it a bit of a hybrid project generator? You're doing these projects. You're kind of maybe take one or two of them further along the path and then potentially spin some out for some value creation along the way and maybe tuck some more in if the opportunity arises?
Yeah, sure. And our background has been to, I guess, to identify really strong projects. My preference, I guess, is to identify the best possible projects and hang on to them as tightly as we possibly can. My thinking, I suppose, is that it's really hard to find good projects, and I'd like to spend my time focusing on those projects and then doing as much as we can to add value to them, rather than passing them off to third parties. So not really chasing that project generator model. If we have assets that maybe are too large, maybe higher risk and deeper, then yes, we'd seek partners. But on the whole, we want to be doing this ourselves, and that really is what gives shareholders the big multiple on returns. So yeah, our market cap at the moment of say $7 to $8 million. The way to really get a 10x or more on that one is to be the owner and set the pace on a major discovery, and that's really our ambition.
All right.
So yeah, good recent news flow, and this will be in the deck. And so we're generating lots of good data. We've got the major project, which is in Sheridan, and some other projects in the US, all moving forward. Most of my talk today will be on the Sheridan project. So the normal sort of capital structure there, as you can see. I've circled in red, and I guess one of the really strong features of the company is that we've got very few shares outstanding. Personally, I'm a very large shareholder myself, and my family are all significant shareholders. We've managed to keep the company really tight during the last few lean years, where it's been quite difficult to finance. So we've managed, because we're a technical team, we're a technical group, we're able to do work ourselves without it costing the company a great deal of money. And so that's how we can sort of keep cash in the bank and manage to make good progress. And also, we're working in Manitoba. A big shout out to the Manitoba government, which provides co-funding for the work we do in Manitoba. And so, we've managed to raise close to $250,000 has come for a program from the Manitoba government. We expect to receive similar funding from the Manitoba government for our future programs. So, a very good and supportive place. And obviously, at times we've taken advantage of flow-through funding, which has keeping us tight as well. So.
And just to highlight here, you have inside management owns 40%, so that's nicely held within the team.
Yeah, exactly. So we're all very motivated to make sure the company works. It's a very major asset for all of us as a group, and we're very focused on making T2 a big success, and we'll make a big personal difference to all of us if we can be involved and lead the company to a major discovery. So no need to dig in too deeply there on the board, but I suppose myself at the top there, geologist, Dushan, a Vancouver-based mining engineer who has been great support. Dushan was one of the founders of the company Patriot Battery Metals, and so really great discovery in Quebec in that company. Now stepped off the board. Nick Demare is our CFO and long-term guy in junior mining in Vancouver, and really knows how to get stuff done. And Amanda Dahl, who's geologist by training, now in a management business in Saskatoon, and gives us that real link in the prairies where we're very active. And so really appreciate all that group of people. So project overview, and as I said, people are important. As the market cap moves up, then I guess we're more thinking about the projects that are in the portfolio. So we're sitting on at the moment 4 projects, always eyes out for more. But our flagship there that I've kind of marked up in orange is the Sheridan camp, which is in Manitoba. So Sheridan is a famous old mining district in Manitoba in the Flin Flon belt, with a good production history. It's got existing historic resources that were calculated in 2010 by a previous owner. Manitoba, as I mentioned, is a great province to be working in. It's got lots of infrastructure. It's got green energy. Our project has a train line running through the middle of it. It's got roads and a small village, so easy place to get work done. In Nevada, we've got the Copper Eagle, which is a new acquisition for us, and the Lida project. Those two projects we drilled at Lida in the last, a little over 12 months ago. And Copper Eagle is a new discovery for us where we look back in archives from work that was done more than 50 years ago and found some very interesting description of rocks. And so we've managed to stake that one and own it 100%. So you can see from the bottom three projects, 100% ownership. These are all ideas and projects that we've generated ourselves. We haven't bought them from anybody else. We haven't got hand-me-down projects from some other junior company. We do our own work and generate our own ideas, which I think is a great way to sort of really step up value of the company. And coming back to Sheridan, we're earning 90%, and we'll touch on the deal in a minute. But we're well in control of that project, and you'll see the work that comes ahead. Let's skip that one. I'm not going to touch on copper for long, but really we saw the last few years, I suppose, and as Martin knows, I've been very active in rare earths and lithium in past companies, but we've seen the last few years we saw a real run in lithium prices, and rare earths were interesting, and some of those smaller commodities. But in the last kind of 6 months, we've really seen a pullback in towards copper and gold, and particularly for copper, it's the value of the copper market is 10 times the lithium market. It has a far more predictable curve than the volatility and spikiness that we see in lithium and rare earths. So it takes out some of the risk, I guess, for investors because investors can have their own view on the copper market based on GDP growth and the move to electrification. But we're seeing a move up now towards a real incentive price, I guess, for a lot more investors to come into the copper space. We've just gone through $10,000 a ton copper for the first time in a number of years. So that's a really exciting time in the copper industry, and so we're taking part of that move. And I guess that's expressing itself in a growing, the copper market and the great future outlook is really expressing itself in the shortfall of copper as we look ahead. And yes, there's been some major discoveries around the world, and yes, there's some great projects out there, but most of them are in fairly challenging jurisdictions for development. And so we can think of the Pebble project in Alaska, we can think of Reko Diq in Pakistan. Massive projects, and they will be mines one day, I'm sure, but they're going to take multi billions of dollars and many years for permitting and development. So the role that we're playing is a little bit more nimble, I guess, with our asset portfolio in really good jurisdictions where we can get stuff done quickly. So today I'm just going to touch on Sheridan, and I'm mindful we don't want to be talking about T2 forever in your afternoons, but our flagship project is the Sheridan project, and it's what's called a volcanic hosted massive sulfide project, and it sits in the Flin Flon district of Manitoba. So Flin Flon is a really well-known mining camp. It's got a couple of mines there that have been working for essentially 100 years. Hudbay has been, I guess, the most active, and the precursors of Hudbay have been the most active in that region for a very long time. And so there's been some very major mines. So volcanic hosted massive sulfides, essentially you can imagine, super hot water bubbling out on the ocean floor is how they form. And then the rocks get folded and deformed, and then we look for the deposits in those new locations. They tend to form what we call camps, where you don't just get one deposit, you get many deposits in the region, and the Flin Flon region has about 100 or more occurrences of massive sulfide, all ranging from the size of a room in a house to operations that can last for tens to up to 100 years. So very exciting projects when you look at it like that, and you tend to get gold along with you'll get copper and zinc and gold and silver and maybe some other specialty metals as well in that same deposit. So for us in Manitoba, we've got the Sheridan deposit, which was mined in the 1940s and 50s and produced about 8 million tons of ore at very good grades. So we've come back in, we've managed to do a very good deal with the former owner, and so come back in and we're restarting exploration on that project. You can see from red there, it's got very substantial resources already, historical resources, apologies. And so the historical resources are many millions of tons of many millions of pounds of copper, zinc, plenty of gold and plenty of silver as well. So a really good sort of grounding point for us. And so that's our stepping stone, and the immediate value in the project is in those tons in the ground. Importantly, and I guess one of the things we're particularly proud of is the agreement that we've got in place with the Kisiwapakri Nation, which is the community that lives and traditional lands is the Sheridan area, and so the exploration agreement means we employ as many people as we can. We do plenty of training. We spend as much money as we can in the local community, and then we also provide a small percentage of our exploration budget goes into providing services and equipment and supporting business building in that local community for the Kisiwapakri. That's gone extremely well, and we're very proud of the relationship we have there. And essentially, with the basis of that exploration agreement and that relationship, we can do whatever we need to do on that project in terms of exploration. And so we have really great support in that local community. So when we think about the targets and the way forward, then we're really thinking about finding that really major deposit on that project. So we're sitting in Flin Flon, where there's a whole bunch of other major projects around us. Our motivation and the excitement that gets us up in the morning is looking for that really major deposit on our ground that some other companies are working on and have been mined in the past. So I guess particularly eye-catching is the McIlvenna Bay project of Foran Mining. So that's about 150 k's away from our project. As I said before, our market cap is just under 10 million Canadian. McIlvenna Bay of Foran Mining is getting towards 1.5 billion Canadian dollars. They've had access to more money than we have. They're further down the exploration pathway, but you can certainly draw a parallel between the exploration growth that we can see from those two companies. The McIlvenna Bay project is on a fast track towards being a mine, and a really great project for the region. And then we're seeing other projects that are being developed across the Flin Flon region as well. But we're really excited to draw that comparison with what Foran is doing in very similar rocks, a very similar camp to us. So for our Sheridan project, we acquired it relatively cheaply. We had to do a bit of restructuring of a company to enable it. It's given us a really great footprint. It's a large project. We own all of the Sheridan camp. We can see from the map there, we've got multiple resources. We've got two very large old mines, a small village. We've got the dotted line of the railway line passing through. So past exploration has always been about how quickly can we get can the explorers get tons on the train line and back into Flin Flon for processing. And so yes, we have that view as well, and obviously we've got a range of near surface resources, but we're also really excited about the deep potential, and that's sort of copying from what's been done over at by Foran Mining. We're looking to sort of learn from their exploration success and apply some of that here as well as we move forward.
Mark, sorry, can you just go back there a bit? I am a little confused on the structure with Halo Resources, and maybe just clarify that a bit, because on a prior said you owned 100%. I see that on the fourth bullet point there, and just explain the 10% interest in the conversion to NSR and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we own 100% of our projects in the US. We've generated those ourselves. And I guess I talk about Sheridan as a bit of a child of COVID. We saw the project during those COVID times when we were locked in, and we noticed that the claims that you can see here, or most of the claims in Manitoba, were still granted, but they hadn't had work done on them for about 10 years. And that was because Halo was now a sub company of a delisted public company. It had been taken over. I think it was 2012. The company was taken over by another public company, and essentially it was mothballed. So in Manitoba, because so much money had been spent on the claims remained in what we call good standing. So the claims were still granted. And so we sort of went back through the history of, and yeah, we saw that they were resource stage projects that nobody had been working on, and so that caught our eye. So we went back and we managed to restructure Halo to allow it to do a deal again, and then took over the projects from them through a very cheap deal. So yeah, $15,000 in cash, some shares in T2 Metals, and then a joint venture where we're earning in towards 90%. So we're on that pathway now of spending $2 million. We'll get that done within the next 12 months, at which point we will own 90%. And then we'll hold that 90% until we move into a decision to mine, and Halo can either fund their 10% or they can convert to a royalty. That royalty is then purchasable by T2 Metals at a fairly low price. So it's a very fair deal. Yeah, Halo had spent many years and lots of money working on these projects. They had drilled around 140 holes. So yeah, a really serious investment. So we managed to get into a very advanced project at a very cheap price. Through sort of sweat equity, I suppose, by identifying the project and restructuring Halo Resources to enable it to do a deal.
And so they don't get diluted down off of their 10% until you start the mine construction phase of it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, at that decision to mine part is when essentially once we achieve 90%, the structure just sits in place until we move the project forward towards
Gotcha.
a final investment decision.
So, and they can convert their 10% into a 1.5% NSR, and then you can buy that out for $2 million.
Correct. Yes, exactly.
Where you would
So,
own the whole thing.
Yes, when we go to 100%, and so that means that really that there's very little risk of that royalty being a problem in the future,
Yeah.
and so the project will be either the project doesn't get developed, and if it does, then $2 million will be a bargain to buy that NSR back out. So yeah, it'll be quite a binary decision at the time.
Fair enough. Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
So the Sheridan district that we can see on the map here, and so similar to the map we saw previously, we can see the outline of the claims. I've circled there sort of the key areas that that Halo Resources and previous explorers identified, and put lots of drill holes into. So we've got 4 resource areas. So Cold, Lost, Bob, and Jungle are the areas that we have near surface resources. And then some very advanced projects as well, which are Park and Fidelity, that have had lots of holes drilled into them. So the small blue dots are the drill holes before we arrived. So yeah, quite a lot of drilling on the project. Most of those drill holes are really quite shallow, looking for, and as I said before, looking for deposits that could be mined quickly, get onto the train line and back into to Flin Flon. Hud Bay was at the time was very hungry for ore, and so this was a really good location to be able to get ore back into Flin Flon. So I guess what we're looking at here, and it's an aerial photo. I've got a geology one next, but it's a large mining camp. It's had a good production history. It's got near surface resources. But the thing that catches our eye, I suppose, as geologists, is that it's a really strong alteration system. So we know that the hot water fluids that sort of form these deposits have been very strong in the past, and so we can see that in the rocks. We can see that in the geochemistry to say, okay, this is a really strong system. Strong systems create big ore bodies. Where is that big ore body? And so what we've got here are 4 small to medium-sized ore bodies. The 2 that are mined out are medium-sized ore bodies. Where's the really big one that can explain the big alteration system that we're seeing in the rocks and in the ground? So that's our focus as we go forward, is to identify where that could be. So yeah, we can see there too much geology for this context, but the folded rocks that we can see at outcrop, the yellow rocks are holding a whole lot of alteration. A whole lot of sulfide. The rocks have been changed by hot water fluids, and so focusing on the yellow rocks is where we really want to be. So too much geology again. This is VTEM, but it's VTEM is geophysics that's really guiding our exploration as we go forward. You can kind of see that bent and folded pattern of the rocks that show the rocks have been deformed and mobilized and changed over time. And so that's kind of how our thinking is, that with all that deformation and what we call remobilization, big deposits can be hiding inside complex geology and have never had a hole in them. And so that's the really exciting thing. So big alteration and complex geology means there's lots of places to be hiding a really big ore body, and there's lots of examples of that in exploration for volcanic hosted massive sulfide.
So generally, sort of going back on that slide, your drill targets would generally be where like the red and the yellow and green sort of highlighted areas.
Yeah,
Those are
so in fact,
broadly the areas of interest.
yeah, sure. So in fact, what we're seeing there is the strongest anomalies come from the mineral graphite. And so graphite, is a blessing and a curse. It can be a valuable product, but it's got very strong electrical properties that look very similar to massive sulfide. And so what we can see there is some graphite in the rocks. And so, along the top of the screen, we can see sort of a graphitic horizon. That essentially maps out a certain horizon in the rocks where there's a little bit more graphite. So in fact, it's not the really strong red ones that we're chasing in particular. It's the second, what we call the second order anomalies. And so we do a lot of processing to say, all right, let's ignore that really strong red one and look at sort of the greens to the blues, because it's the greens to the blues are the real targets, I think, on this project. And we can see when we zoom into each of these prospect areas, the mineralization is associated with greens and blues, not with the reds. And I guess you'll also, with this surface geophysics, as the same ore body is deeper in the below the surface, then it gets more and more subtle. So the anomaly gets weaker. The surface anomaly gets weaker as the ore body gets deeper. And so, you're looking for sort of, very subtle targets as you get down to sort of 400 meters, which there's almost no drill holes at that level on this project, to be looking at those more subtle targets. And so that's a really exciting thing that we can see on this. So we can see, and just as I sit there, we can see the red dots as the places that we drilled in our campaign last year. So we saw some gaps in the existing resources. We were very keen to sort of show that we could work with the local community. We could get work done efficiently and cheaply, and then also fill some gaps and then extend the existing resources to the south. And so we'll touch now on particularly the drilling that we did at Lost Lake on that southern side, which was a step out from past resources, and came up with some really exciting results. So I've shown in red there one of the holes that we drilled in the last campaign, and most of our holes hit massive sulfide mineralization and increased the confidence that we have of what's on the project. We've never seen, until we drilled these holes, we've never seen drill core from the project, because the drill core hasn't been well stored, unfortunately, in the past, and so we haven't been able to really, we've got all the data, but we haven't been able to go back to the physical core to take a look. So really excited to see this drill core and understand what the massive sulfide looks like. But shown in red there, and the one that really sort of took us by surprise, is the high grades of gold in one of the drill holes, drill hole 5. And so at very shallow levels, so we're only 38 meters down the hole, we've intersected 4.5 meters at about 30 grams of gold. So the project had been known for a little bit of gold, but nothing like that grade is really an exceptional grade over that interval. And I suppose of most note, you can see that the copper grade is relatively low and the zinc grade is relatively low in that red intersection. So it's not in the massive sulfide. It's not in the place that with those geophysical anomalies that we saw a couple of slides ago. The geophysics is responding to the massive sulfide, to the high grade of copper and high grade of zinc. This is not associated with it. This was quite a boring looking rock, and I'll show a photo of it in a sec, with very subtle alteration, with only a little bit of sulfide as well. And so to find gold, and we did the test work, we know that it's free gold. To find gold like that in a place where we really weren't expecting it was really exciting. And so it's opened a whole new door on the project by going back. And so we'll be re-assaying drill core that wasn't assayed in the past. Doing some more surface sampling, looking at places where this gold-rich mineralization can be. So we've got immediate drill targets to follow this up and see what we can find. And so as I said, it's only 38 meters down hole, and so that's about 25 meters below surface. So it's a really attractive near surface target that we can drill at low cost and make really good progress. So this is the drill interval here, and so between the yellow to the yellow is where we took that mineralization. So you can see it at sort of the bottom in the last few meters, the last runs. That's where we're coming into the copper ore body, where we start to see the color and the color change that's associated with the copper mineralization. But from the yellow to yellow, it is fairly ordinary looking rock. But we had a very good geologist on the site who had been working at one of the other projects in the Flin Flon region, and he noticed a little bit of galena, which is the lead mineral. And he's seen that at some other projects. And when you start to get a little bit of lead, you might get some silver and maybe some gold. And so we sampled that interval, even though it didn't sort of have the copper with it, and got some really great results. And it was one of those kind of oh shit moments where, okay, are we sampling enough? What do we need to do? What do we do next? And it really opened the door on this project as we move forward. And so really exciting result. So hole number 5 is the very southern hole that's been drilled on that project. And so that was the best hole that we had on the campaign. And in fact, looking back at past records, we think it's the best hole that's ever been drilled on the project. Despite a fair drilling history and a fair knowledge of the geology, we can still turn up and we can do something really exciting and new. And that's been a really game-changing discovery, I think, on the project. And mineralization that's not going to show up in the geophysics. So it makes us go back to the drawing board and say, how do we explore for that mineralization?
How close is it to other holes that either you or were done, you have done or were done historically? Was it a big step
so it's
out?
About it's about 100-meter step out, I guess, from nearby drilling. We were confident that we were going to hit a massive sulfide in that drill hole. But we had no ideas about. In fact, we hit 2 massive sulfide zones, and then we hit the gold in between the massive sulfide. So the result was much better. And you see from sort of the way we've drawn the cross section here, which includes the high grades. Volcanic hosted massive sulfide bodies are not easy. They tend to pinch and swell a bit. But that sort of creates the opportunity as well, is that you can get some thinning, but you also get sort of really remarkable over thickening as well in some of these deposits, which really takes you by surprise. And I'll just jump on to sort of an example there of what, this is kind of a summary of volcanic hosted massive sulfides in general. And this is not our project. This is one in Brazil. But you can see sort of the near surface drilling has intersected the red mineralization. So thin and still economic, I'm sure, but sort of relatively thin mineralization. And then in a fold position where the rocks are more deformed, suddenly all the mineralization is concentrated in a perhaps a fold hinge zone. So when the rocks are deformed at high temperature, which happens which has happened in the Flin Flon region, the Sheridan region, then the massive sulfides can get relocated and remobilized, and so they can get over thickened and form these really big lenses that become really exciting targets. So when we think about Sheridan, we know that the big alteration footprint is there, which is what's needed for a big ore body. We know there's lots of bits and pieces of mineralization around, some of which have been mined in the past. And we know that there's been very little deep exploration. And so, the whole ambition that we've got as we move forward is to use geophysics to put us into the right area, and then drill some really deep holes and find that really big ore body, that 10 to 20 million tons of high grade mineralization. And we can look at Flin Flon itself, the 777 ore body that Hud Bay discovered, which kept the mine running for an extra 20 or 30 years. The Lida deposit in Snow Lake. We can look at the Telstra deposit over that Foran has discovered at McIlvenna Bay. It's those deposits that sit a little bit deeper, a little bit more subtle, and are company makers absolutely when you drill into it. So that's certainly our ambition here at Sheridan, is to find the next one of those. And so I touched on I guess the work we did there with the Kisiwapa Cree, and really appreciate their support on this project. Yeah, you can see in the picture there, we bought a sawmill and supporting equipment for the community. They're now running a small business providing timber to construction operations, to mining companies, and yeah, really launching themselves in a way that is much bigger than our support, which is great to see. And yeah, very happy to be going back at any time and supporting that community and spending money there, and yeah, making sure we spend what we can in the local community is a key part of our focus in that region.
Neat.
And in fact, as I said in the sticky note there, we were awarded a prize in collaboration with the Kissi for the exploration agreement and just how well our project has gone. So yeah, we've got sort of an open door to really do a lot of work in the region. I won't dig in too much longer, and we can move on to Q&A, Martin. But yeah, this is what Sheridan, this is what the project looked like in the 1940s, and so yeah, I think it's really the best way to demonstrate it was a really major mine site. It was a major project. All of this is gone now. Yeah, burnt down, taken away. Yeah, pushed into the lake. All those things. And so unfortunately, yeah, none of that sort of historic infrastructure is on site. But yeah, it shows this really was a major project, and it can be again. And yeah, we're certainly very excited to be investing in. And yeah, this is how the project looks today. And so an active train line that works a couple of days a week with as a tourist or passenger line. The train line's owned by one of the First Nation groups, and yeah, they're very keen to have us. To have our success will lead to income for them as well. A small community. We've got a fishing lodge there that our people stay at and the drillers stay at. So easy way to work locally and keep costs down. So yeah, a very, very effective way. So I'm not going to touch on those other projects. We can save those for another day. But yeah, I guess yeah, the way I see T2 Metals is that yeah, it's a really well balanced company, and I think we're yeah, we're on a pathway to making more discoveries. We've obviously demonstrated we're in a good position at Sheridan. We've got the other 3 projects in the US that also have some really exciting intersections on them, and they'll also be a focus in the next 12 months. But most of our work, I think, as we look forward in the next 12 months, will be at Sheridan, and that's where we need to sort of emphasize the work going forward. So yeah, really strong board and management team. Yeah, we've been involved in this for 30 years. I'm a 30-year geologist, and yeah, been involved in some major discoveries, and really hope to be again. And I think we're on the track for that one. Copper is a great place to be, and yeah, certainly most of my personal investing is in copper at the moment, and yeah, there's no better sector to be in, I think, than copper as we move towards. I guess electrification is part of it, but also just the regeneration of infrastructure in the US and Australia and Europe. All of that demands a massive amount of copper that has not been discovered yet, and certainly isn't on a development pathway. Yeah, low share count out. Yeah, less than 30 million for a company that's been getting work done and making good acquisitions is really exceptional. And so yeah, we can get a really massive re-rating as we move forward and execute on our business plans. And yeah, we've always been careful in how we spend money, and I guess finally, yeah, digging into the project again, and yeah, we've got resource stage projects. So yeah, we've got real value in the ground, moving towards 90% ownership, and with a pathway for 100% ownership. Really great support from the local community and the Cree Nation in that Sheridan region means we can execute on our business plan and really get stuff done. So yeah, tick a lot of boxes, and yeah, we're really pleased in the positioning, and yeah, we're looking forward to a very strong 2024 and onwards. And so yeah, I'll pass back to you, Martin, and yeah, right, we can dig into any questions, and yeah, happy to discuss.
So what is the next you've been releasing some data still. Is there any more data set to be released, or do you have to get more sort of boots on the ground before to generate data?
Sure. Yeah, so Sheridan, we have released all the data from our drilling program, so that's all up to date.
Okay.
and it's a project where it's either going to be geophysically driven or drill driven. So yeah, the surface geology is well known enough. We don't need to go back and do that again. So really now it's using the geophysics that's been acquired in the past, and so we're going through a big project of reinterpretation there, and then following up on drill targets. So our drill targets, and we're not finalised yet. We haven't moved into the permitting phase, but yeah, very obviously we've got lots of interesting stuff to follow up on where that really great drill hole was. We're doing some reassaying, we're doing some and then preparing for the drilling program in that area, and then using the geophysics to identify some deeper targets as well that haven't been drilled. So that's our program for sort of the next 12 months. The location, because we've got really good access, we've got driving access on forest roads. We don't need to do winter drilling. Many parts, as you know, of northern Canada, winter drilling on frozen ground works a little bit better. But for us in Sheridan, it's reasonably rocky. We've got a village close by, and we've got good ground access using existing tracks. So we can do our sort of key time for drilling is the back end of summer, running into the fall, when we can get lots of work done relatively cheaply without helicopters, without sort of remote camps, without building tent camps and the rest. So our cost of exploration is really quite cheap in that region. In the US, we're still they're earlier stage projects. We've still got surface sampling and discovery stage stuff to do. Moving into geophysics, and then if the projects are deserving, drilling as well.
So is the drilling and geophysics going to be all focused around that one hole with the big gold intercept, or are you going to be exploring and trying to figure out some aspects of the other parts of the property?
Yeah, no, it's a big district, and so certainly we've got a drill plan for around that gold intersection, and also some resampling in past core when we can get at it. But we're looking at the whole camp. We're looking at the whole district. We're not just focusing ourselves into that one region. And I don't want to sound like it was too easy, but we drilled that hole without any expectation of getting a result that was that good. And so when you do that, it kind of triggers your mind to say, what else is there that we don't know? How can we sort of unwind that exploration process and say, why did we drill here? What was the triggers? Is there something key in that little region that we can be looking for in other places as well? Something subtle that we hadn't identified before we drilled the hole. So we're going through that process now to using geophysics, using sort of the alteration and signature of the rocks to understand, is there something different and unusual about that one location that we can sort of learn from and apply elsewhere.
So is your concept there that maybe not a clone, but they're similar structures elsewhere, so you could find some similar gold areas, or just on how it expands out from that area where it could which direction
a bit of both. A bit of both, I suppose. So we know we've got something there. We've got the tiger by the tail, perhaps, and so we're going to sort of do plenty of extra work in that one little region. But we're then saying, is there something that we can see in the geology that can teach us about where else we should be on that camp? It's a large area, and so is there some feature? Is it a cross-cutting fault? Are the volcanics thicker? Are the volcanics more altered? Is there some subtle sign that we can see that will teach us where else to be? So whatever that sign is, we didn't see it before we drilled the hole. We can't claim to be particularly brilliant on that regard, but it's a result that changes our thinking on the project to say that okay, we can actually have really high grades of gold here. Many VHMS deposits do, and you go across to Snow Lake and they're very gold rich VHMS deposits. So that's about 70 kilometers away. So yes, we know that these deposits can have lots of gold. We've got a couple of gold only projects sit on competitor ground, not too far away from us. So yes, we know there's gold in the region, but we hadn't expected this result. So we've got to do some learning from it.
What was there any similar or pockets of that kind of mineralization in gold with the historic mining there, or nothing that was reported?
The gold grade from historic mining is relatively low. Yeah, it is less than a gram per ton, but whether there was a high grade pockets that were intersected, yeah, I don't think the data would allow us to know that.
Okay.
So we've got records of where all the mining was done, the levels. We've got rough numbers on the production history. We know that some ore was left behind at deeper levels. But the project was kind of mined, yeah, 1940s, 1950s, as a war effort, I guess, by Canada. So particularly focused on copper and not so much on the zinc. And so it was done, yeah, in a hurry, which kind of meant the project, the data wasn't well collected or preserved. It was, yeah, it was done for a different purpose. And so it hasn't been easy, I guess, to learn from that past mining history.
All right. I think we've gone quite a bit into the Sheridan project here. I can't think of anything else to bring up. Is there anything else you want to highlight before we wrap things up?
No, I think no, we're very pleased to be investing there, and yeah, really appreciate the support of the First Nation community that we're working with, and yeah, we think it's a great region for a discovery, and because it's got so much infrastructure, it's very close to Flin Flon, where there's a copper smelter. Yeah, we really think it's a project that can stand up and get going really quickly in a really tight copper market, and so yeah, we're very excited about the work we're doing.
Excellent. Mark, thank you very much for taking the time to bringing us up to speed on T2 and especially the Sheridan project. Thank you and
Super.
have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Martin. Cheers.